Hi, this is Chantel again, and I'm going to talk to you about the Baroque period and about the art and architecture. And I'm going to try and do it in under 15 minutes. So here we go. The Baroque period was greatly encouraged by the Catholic Church. It decided at the time of the Council of Trent, in response to the Protestant Reformation, that the arts could communicate religious themes in a more direct and emotional involvement. I find it interesting that the response to the Protestant Reformation, which was upset about the decadence of the church, that the church kind of saw being more opulent as an important response. But they felt that it was important to make religious themes more personal and tangible and full of emotion. And so we're going to see a lot of that in the Baroque period. Also, the aristocracy then responded to this style and really embraced it because they saw it as a way of impressing visitors, of having an expression of triumph, of power and control, and that, it really made the royal court look more impressive and powerful and, yeah, impressive. You'll see as we look at some of these things. King Louis XIV is king at this time, and we'll look at some things relative to him. But he really embraced this style. What we're looking at here is the baldacchino or baldacchino, depending on your pronunciation, made by Bernini. This is in St. Peter's, and it marks the tomb of St. Peter. It's really impressive, and I sent Dave a little 2-minute video that you guys might take a look at, that really shows some more information about this. But if you look off to your left, you can see a couple of people standing there, and that kind of helps put things into perspective. This is another Bernini statue. This is the Ecstasy of Saint Teresa, and I'll show you another view of it as well. But you can see that the statue is not stagnant. It's taken the sculptural style that Michelangelo perfected, with the fabrics and exquisite skin tones, etc. But this piece is much more dynamic. It's not the moment before or the moment after. It is the moment, and she is in ecstasy. It's in a very emotional state. The Baroque also plays a lot with light and, what light and shadow can do for us. And so this is a Baroque piece, and I'm trying to forward my slide. There we go. Here's an close-up of her expression. You can see that it's very dramatic. The Baroque period is very much about drama and theatricality. This is Bernini's David. Again, you can see that he is in motion. It's, again, not the moment before, the moment after, but it's actually the motion, the moment that he's throwing the stone. And it's, again, very dramatic. It's got muscular tension and action. Things are happening in these works of art. Here I've got a comparison between Michelangelo's David and Bernini's David. You can see that Michelangelo's David is balanced, it's elegant. He is in the moment before or the moment after throwing the stone. He's calm, whereas Bernini's is in the moment and very dynamic. This is another Bernini. He's pretty typical of the style. Uh, this is the Fountain of the Four Rivers, and you can see that, as these figures are emerging, they're very dynamic. Fountains were very popular at this time. This is the Trevi Fountain, another wonderful piece. And you can see as you look around, and perhaps Dave can bring up some additional images of the Trevi Fountain. There are horses coming forth from the water and people emerging from the water, and it's very dynamic. The building behind is also a pretty basic Baroque piece. You can see the great ornamentation in the top center and the dynamic figures at the top. Again, in the Renaissance and prior, those kinds of temple figures would be static. They would be still, but now their fabrics are flowing. They're in motion. It's very dynamic. This is a Baroque piece. I'm showing it because remember when we looked at the Renaissance that they looked at, incorporating some of these spirals to marry the bottom half and the upper half of the building. This becomes very, very standard in the Baroque. Those S curves are adored in the Baroque. And so this is kind of a simple Baroque piece, but then we can see how it evolves somewhat. This is a piece in Sicily. It's a church, and it's very Baroque. With the curved pediments, you can see up at the top, they've broken the pediment and sort of stacked it. And instead of having a nice even top, we now cut away and we use S curves to marry those pieces together. This one is later Baroque, and you can see that they've taken these same sort of images, but now instead of a front facade, which we would have in Greece and Rome and the Renaissance, we then take the facade and we're curving it so that it embraces. And this curved facade, then later a lot of Baroque pieces, they have multiple staircases that come down in curves, and it's very much about motion and yeah, really theatricality. So this is a very typical Baroque building. Again, you see those scrolls marrying the top and bottom, still using classical elements, but pulling them and stretching them into a new way of doing things. This is Versailles, very typical early Baroque, very ornamented with gold, draped with fabrics inside. It's just exquisite, and it's to show the power of the king. The king wanted to make sure that people understood that he was chosen by God, and as such, things should be elaborate and beautiful. This is the Hall of Mirrors inside, and inside Versailles. Again, very opulent, very decadent. You see lots of gold in the Baroque. The Baroque is heavy and ornate and powerful. And as you listen to some music from this period, you can see that the music expresses that too. Very heavy energy. This is a piece by Caravaggio, and as we look at the paintings, they're really playing a lot with light and shadow, and they were doing so with sculpture and with architecture as well. But now we're really pushing both highlights and shadow for dramatic effect. it's about the lighting, and it's about expressing emotion. And again, this is not a stagnant moment, it's a very powerful moment, and these are the things that we're expressing in the artwork. Again, lots of darks and lights, and a very strong, powerful moment. And this is the beheading of, I can't remember. I'll send the name to Dave. He'll tell you. But again, very dynamic, very theatrical. The highlights and shadows exaggerate the moment. Very strong and very powerful. This is another Caravaggio. He's kind of the father of chiaroscuro, that highlight, that dark and light contrast. This is a painting by Velázquez, much more basic in style, but you can see that this portrait of Philip II is, it's still very dynamic, and it's very much playing with highlights and shadows. This is another piece by Velázquez of the daughter, and it's kind of interesting because, and this is a close-up. Let me take us out to the full image. Again, it's a very dynamic portrait. It's a portrait of the daughter, but she's in her environment, complete with the artist, painting the painting, and you can see the parents in the background, reflected in the mirror, observing the scene. The boy off to the side with his foot on the dog. I love that portion. He's capturing a moment, and it's a very dynamic moment. And if you analyze this in terms of angles, the perspective is a multi-point perspective and very dynamic. Rubens was a popular painter at this time. Again, his work is very dynamic, very theatrical, really playing with those highlights and shadows. And this is where we get the term Rubenesque, because his figures were very voluptuous and soft. Here's another Rubens. Again, playing with images, storylines, but very dynamic, and lots of curves. And these winged babies, the putti, little angels, become very popular in the Baroque as well. You see them everywhere. This is a Rembrandt. You can see that, again, it's a very simple portrait, it seems, but it's dynamic. The highlights and shadows are very strong, and she's caught in a moment. She's not sitting for a portrait. It's almost like she was leaving and she was called back. Another Rembrandt, it's a surgery class, an anatomy class, openly recognizing that we do this now. And again, strong use of highlights and shadows. And another Rembrandt. Again, you can see it's a simple moment, but it's caught in action. It's theatrical. It's in the moment, and a lot of that comes from the strong use of highlights and shadows. So with that, I think I am almost out of time. So I hope you enjoyed, and yeah, have a great day, and go enjoy the Baroque. All right, bye-bye.